Yeah, I actually do have one where I go through the pump and stuff. I'm planning on doing a couple more, a little more like interactive, and make sure that people go through it. But I do have one video where I go through and I show how the pump system gets set up and used.
Okay, good, because in about 8 weeks I have my draft quality class, so I'll use your videos.
Oh, I appreciate
Better than
that.
Nice, nice. So you guys found the beers. I could not find a Belgian. My favorite beer store was wiped out on a Sunday, and that was when I could get there. And it had been a hot weekend, and the shelves were like decimated. So all the things I wanted, they had the the label up there that they should have had it, but it was gone. So
Yeah, I went with the traditional Belgian blonde. I couldn't find any Fuller's ESB or anything, so Old Speckled Hen is what I got for strong bitter. Even though it's labeled as an English pale, but and then I got some beers based off of Patty's list. It is impossible to find a Belgian pale here.
Yeah.
So I went to two stores, one being Total Wine and one being an independent, and the independent's like, no, we don't get those anymore. People just not drinking them, but I wanted to compare that against the Saison.
The strong bitter, like I was gonna get Bass because that's usually one that you can get. Yep. But they were sold out, and I went on a Sunday as well, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we should have them tomorrow," and I haven't fucking made it back. So
yeah, I was looking for Bass. I haven't actually. I've seen Bass on draft here, but I haven't seen it in bottles, and I no longer see Fuller's in bottles either. We have a collective here, and one part of the collective is 68 beer taps, self-serve beer taps. So you can find some of those in there. It's where you go to get your haircut, get your coffee, get your beer, and do jujitsu all at once.
That's a good start.
I would pay to watch someone getting their haircut while drinking a beer and doing jujitsu. I'm just saying.
You know? Yeah, someone's gonna lose an ear.
Yeah, not good.
Oh.
Yeah, well, the store that Aloe worked for, they have one in a different part of Vermont, about an hour and a half from here. So that'll be the next stop to see what they have. But yeah, I was really disappointed, and my go-to beer store was wiped out on Sunday. So
unfortunately, like
I got a wheat, but that's not what we were doing. Yeah.
Unfortunately, like my beer store is adequate most of the time. But like the weirder it is, it ain't gonna happen. Remember, this is Southern Indiana, so this is.
Yeah, they had a store. If you wanted 47 different varieties of a hazy IPA, you're golden.
Yeah.
If you wanted good German pills,
yeah. Well, they just had a big sale 2 weeks ago on Guraz, Gueuze. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but the Belgian, Lambic blend, and they're big bottles, and they were freaking $30 and $40 a bottle. I'm like, man, I know I'm supposed to taste one of those, but that's shelling out some money. And that was a sale. You're like, eek. But they had them. They still have a few. Those were still on the shelf. I think the price scared people off, but they're aging.
On Sunday, I got a 6-pack of the Lawful. I got a 4-pack of the Duvel. And I got Hofbrauhaus Oktoberfest because I wanted to try, because that is one of the quintessential Oktoberfest. I don't care for it. I love Oktoberfest, but I'm not the biggest fan of that one. So I think I'm going to try to Spotten's Oktoberfest.
Spotten's good.
Yeah.
We're already hitting into fest beer season in Arizona, which I love. I wish it was all year round, but
yeah, me too.
Nice to be able to get them.
So we do an Oktoberfest, and actually I love our Oktoberfest. It's one of my favorite of our beers. It's nice and malty, got a little bit of sweetness. It's got like it's got everything that you want from an Oktoberfest. Um, but if we haven't like if it's still in the brewery come October, it will not sell. Like
No.
it all has to be gone before October.
Yep.
Yeah. Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
All right, tell me what you taste on those Belgian blondes.
I'm getting like super sweet, almost like bubble gummy. Not almost zero bitterness. I just get a lot of the like a sweet malt. I just get bubble gum.
Yeah. I mean, honestly,
And that's. Go ahead, Bender.
honestly, this is like a cream soda of the beer world. It's very like I get almost like no hops. I get no bitter. It's all just malty, sweet, and almost just barely like a touch of like sappy, I guess maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's thick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those beers that if you were to show up, have a pint, I don't know that I could do 2 pints of it because it's sure it's to style, but it's like to me it's not balanced. It's just too cloyingly sweet to me.
See, I actually love this. I love this beer. I love like the way this is this is very very refreshing to me. But I completely understand what you mean. It's not balanced at all.
Yeah.
And so the bubble gum is a yeast effect, isn't it? Or
Yeah.
Well, yes, on this one, yeah, there are some hops that will give you bubble gummy. Like to me, Galaxy gives me bubble gummy, which obviously is not in this beer. But yeah, the yeast, and then as I'm drinking more, I'm noticing that it's drying out a little bit. And it almost, to me, reminds me a little bit on the back end with some Saison.
Okay. I'm also getting clove.
because
I'm getting a little bit of clove off mine. Like
smell, aroma, or taste.
Taste.
Yeah, I don't get much on the aroma.
Yeah, me either.
So for me, that's the big indicator on the Belgian beers that I've noticed, a lot. That one, the bubblegum thing hits me hard. I don't know if it's like a yeast impact or what, but it's like, whoa, that I can smell as well as taste really quickly. And so that seems to be a real big indicator for me of Belgian beers, several of them, not all of them, but several. But I got to do the one where they want you to do a Hefeweizen American wheat and a wit beer.
Yeah.
I have a Hogarten left, and I get the bubblegummy off that wit beer. And so I got to do those 3 and see the Hefeweizen should have the clove and the.
You want to do that for next week?
Yeah, we can do it next week if you want. Sure.
Yeah, I could not find, which is weird because I've gotten it here for years. I could not find Oberon, so my American wheat is Boulevard Unfiltered.
Yeah.
So
this is weird. I don't know if changing dynamics and the Hazy Boys and that stuff sells, but even Total Wine didn't have Oberon, which was weird. But the one liquor store that I've frequented for years, they've always had Oberon, and not this year.
That's really strange. I mean, Oberon, like, Bell's is...
Yeah, we get Hop Slam, we get everything else, but I just don't know the independent. They switched beer buyers, and the old beer buyer moved up in the world within the company, and so this new guy, he may not really understand everything.
Yeah, I mean, Oberon's the quintessential wheat, American wheat. Like,
yeah.
But I can get Boulevard all day, unfiltered wheat here.
Have you been to the brewery?
Bell's or Boulevard?
Bell's.
I've been to neither of those.
It is. It's impressive.
I'm sure.
I went up there for a centrifuge class. Our company that made our centrifuge did a class there, and I went up to take it. So
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it was very cool. I got to take the hard hat tour, which is what they refer to. Yeah. So while we were going through and like everyone, I looked over and we're looking at the bottom of the giant fucking fermenters that are outside. Huge. I couldn't even tell you like how many fucking gallons they are, as I cuss a lot. But they're giant, and basically the only part that's inside is the very bottom of the cone.
Yep.
And like I look over, and the guy who hired me into Upland is working on one of them.
Yeah, they don't measure those in gallons. It's like in metric shipments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
speaking of Upland, I heard you guys have a new CEO.
Yes. Wow. I'm surprised you heard that. Yeah, we do.
Yep. Heard it this morning.
Okay. Yeah, we've got a new CEO. His name's Eddie. He's pretty cool, honestly. He admits that he doesn't know anything about beer, but he knows a lot about business. So
okay.
And
leave the beer to the experts and let him run the business and grow it.
Yeah, pretty much. And he's he's listening. Like I told him that to first book to read is Tasting Beer, and he ordered a copy and I started reading it. So
or Palmer's How to Brew.
Yeah. That's probably a bit high for him at this point. So,
okay. Yeah. Randy Mosier will get you through the initial stages.
Right. Right. That's an interesting book. I'm halfway through it, so
I think it's a great book.
Really good tips on the tasting stuff that I need to learn the basics, and he really lays it out there pretty well. Yeah. And his off flavor, descriptions are really helpful too. So got my flashcards going, ready to go.
I'll see if I can send you guys an article I found through the internet looking at off flavors and stuff. I found I don't know if it was a Reddit or an Etsy or one of those where a lady told you how, like, if you put the green apple flavoring in, if you drop 3 drops in, that'll give you acetaldehyde, and then there's a fake butter flavoring, and just versus if you just want to mess around and start to learn versus buying those kits. She did a whole thing on like all the common beer off flavors and how you can create those without buying a kit from Araxa or Siebel or whatever. I'll see if I can find it again and send it to you guys.
Yeah, if you can, that'd be awesome. So,
and to be able to do it on the cheap.
Yeah, so
especially to get started.
Yeah, Eddie's pretty cool. We're still looking for a vice president of production over the breweries. So right now the 3 breweries are being run by the 4 department heads, which I'm one of. So it's interesting.
Yeah. Working some overtime, are you?
Yeah. Dealing with some stuff I never thought I would, but
Yeah, I can tell you the people stuff is something else. Ooh-wee.
So this blonde, would you guys describe this color as like straw gold?
Yeah.
Yeah, just trying to make sure.
Yeah, I would say straw gold. Is that a 4 SRM?
Okay. That was actually going to be my next question.
That's my guess. I will admittedly say that I am not good with the color range. I've been working on that to try to get that down. But that would be my guess would be a 4 or 5 SRM.
So at the end of the Belgian RTC course, I did the test. I did the online test, and I now know I had a lot of work to do around all the SRM bitterness with IBUs and ABV, because I understand what all beers are, but they're like the beer judging the BJCP says this
Yeah.
beer is a this and a this, and it's like, well, that's really close, when a wheat is 2 to 4 SRM and a Belgian Pale Ale is a 3 to 5, and it's like, crap, they're all on the light side, but now you got to differentiate to that level, and I had not been studying quite to that level. I had it that this is a really light color, but not that, now they're so close. Which one is the lightest? You're like, crap, that's all about that, those ranges. And then which one is the most, the alcohol ranges and the bitternesses, compare and contrast. It's like, whoa, I got to put some work in there. I have not worked on those enough.
Remember that is not necessary for the certified Cicerone.
Really?
No, remember Aloe said like there was very few questions then when it came to that stuff. So
wow. Well, this was the practice one for the end of the you finished the book, the Road to Cicerone book online, and I got hammered. I had not done enough of that.
As far as I can tell, the Road to Cicerone goes way. It's more like that's the stuff that you need to know for advanced. So my guess is like, as long as if we're passing all of those with high marks, then we're basically ready to go on to advanced or something along those lines. So
wow, okay. Well, I got to take this one over because I blew it. But anyhow, I had not done a lot. I had the general, but I needed to get a little deeper. So I can do that.
I took it.
I pulled the Cicerone flashcards out. Do you guys want to quiz it, or do you want me just to go over the stats and read it?
Let's go over the stats for the blonde.
Okay, so you were right on, Bender, with an SRM of 4. The range is 4 to 7. Light gold to gold. Bitterness, low, 15 to 30 IBUs. Still think it's lower. Alcohol elevated 6 to 7.5.
Which you don't.
Golden color and malt balanced. Malt along with fruity esters gives an impression of sweetness. So I think we kind of nailed that.
Yeah.
Developed to compete with Pilsner style beers, often shows slightly less fermentation character than most other Belgian styles. Related styles, the triple and a golden strong ale. So I think if this was like one that was put against, say, like an American blonde or something like that, this would be fairly easy to detect.
Yeah. The bubble gum, the ester, the clove, that would really pull it apart.
Yeah, sweetness and everything. So,
and
they admit that it's more malt balanced than just being balanced between. But I don't know. Like, I struggle to think that this is anywhere close to 25 to 30 IBUs.
Well, and to call that a low, I mean, that IBU range makes you think moderate or closer to moderate. But
that's one thing that actually confuses me, because what I think of as like a moderate range on most things, like, is way off what they're considering it. Like, one of the things that drives me nuts is like talking about American Light Lager, highly carbonated. They use that constantly. Highly carbonated. It's carbonated 2.5 volumes, which is standard.
Which is normal for an ale.
Standard carbonation level. Like, if you're talking about highly carbonated, I'd be thinking of like 2.7, 2.8, 2.9, maybe 3 volumes. That's highly carbonated. Like, it drives me a little nuts what they consider moderate or low, or I don't know.
Well, how about the word attenuated? I mean, there's a calculation for that. Of how attenuated a beer is, but the dryness, dryness, attenuation, high carbonation all seem to kind of go together, I guess. I see. Maybe that's when I'm reading that into it. Like the Saison is highly attenuated. I think, and quite dry. and highly carbonated. So
So
I don't know if I'm putting all those together.
You could have a quite dry beer that's highly attenuated but low carb.
Okay. All right. So those don't always go together. All right. That's helpful. Okay.
So yeah, you got your yeast, and if it's highly attenuated and you bring it from say 1050 to 1006, it's going to be a high attenuation. It's going to be dry, and then you transfer that in the commercial world. You transfer that over to a bright tank, and then you set your volumes of CO2. You could set it at 2.8. You could set it at 2.2, which would alter the carbonation levels.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So if you've got those cards, pull out a Golden Strong, or Belgian Golden Strong, and then compare, because they're really close. The SRMs are really close.
Yep, that was actually my next card. That is 3 to 6 SRMs, so versus 4 to 7.
Yes, just a little bit lighter. Yeah,
a little bit hoppier, or a little bit more bitterness. Sorry, 22 to 35. But then the alcohol is 7.5 to 10.5.
Yeah.
So
flavor-wise, though, you're really not gonna. I don't know if you're picking off on the flavor for sure. Yeah.
Lighter color, more bitterness, way more alcohol.
And then do you have the triple?
Let's see. Yep. 4.5 to 7 SRMs. So pretty close. 20 to 40 IBUs. So slightly more bitter. But 7.5 to 9.5% alcohol.
So the Golden Strong could be a little stronger. Yeah. Interesting.
Lighter alcohol than the Golden Strong, slightly, but more bitter than the Golden Strong, and the color's slightly darker. So it's like those three beers between the blonde, the Golden Strong, and the triple are just like so close.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to try to make you differentiate those three. It'd be hard to differentiate them. Yeah. Not at our level. All right.
No.
Cool. Thank you.
No, that's master level.
Get that intense. All right. You want to do some questions?
Sure.
Besides did you guys make up questions?
I did.
Did you do it?
Doing the English beer?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, you're English. That's right.
You're the only one that actually got one.
Am I the only one? Okay.
Yeah.
Drink up.
So this beer poured out like a nitro. When I opened the can, it just kind of exploded a little bit. On this one specifically, a very thick, creamy head, slightly tan. Also on it, I get the fruity esters, but color is quite a bit darker on this one. They're saying 8 to 18 SRMs, gold to dark amber. I'm going to say this one is fairly amberish.
Right.
I'm going to say that's around the 15 to 17 mark.
Yeah. Agreed. Super awesome on the clarity. Way smooth on the mouthfeel. Almost no carbonation on the mouthfeel. I don't know if that's from like being like nitro-ish. Bitter on the back end, malty, and then switching over to bitterness on the back end. Like, this is a great drinker.
I like that one.
Yeah, I would prefer this to the Belgian Blonde, just for building up to the bar for a couple pints.
Yeah.
Yep.
I I'm gonna grab another beer before we start questions. Give me 1 minute.
Sure, go for it.
Yeah, no problem. So how about the bubblegummy flavor to you? Not existent
No,
there?
I think this one is more balanced. I don't get any of those. I get fruity, like ale esters on the aroma. On the taste, I get caramel. Which comes on sweet in the beginning and then shifts to that bitterness on the back end, so it cuts that sweetness.
I
don't know. It almost has a tinge of sourness.
Oh, how old's that one? Yeah.
Yeah. They did not put it is a can. They didn't put a Best By date on here. There's just a code on the bottom. But yeah, just like almost like a slart. It's not even tart, but it's maybe like a little lactic acid or something off the malt.
And what about English bitter? Sometimes they have like the sulfur with or that kind of stuff, but that's not an acidy.
No.
Now, is it really like a lacto tang or a different?
No, not quite that bad.
Not even? Okay.
But just to review this beer, 8 to 18 SRMs. Bitterness is pronounced 30 to 50, which I do agree with. It definitely has some bitterness on the back end. Alcohol is 4.6 to 6.2. Malt flavors of caramel, biscuit, and toast are balanced by herbal, earthy hop flavor and firm hop bitterness. This is the strongest of the 3 bitter ale styles. Related styles are Belgian Pale Ale, which I can't find, Best Bitter, English IPA, or an ordinary bitter.
Yeah. Looks good.
In this one, this specific beer is 5% alcohol.
Sounds good. All right, Bender, you got that beer poured? You ready for questions?
Oh no, I'll pour it while we're talking. I've got it just a touch left of my lawful. How do you lawful?
Leffy? Yeah.
Lawful? I don't know. All right, who's up first?
Yeah. Well, we did the very first piece of the syllabus, and I think it was Bender, Diane, and then John. ABC, alphabet soup here. So if you want to start, Bender, I think that'd be great.
Sure. I did purchasing and accepting beers, serving alcohol, and beer storage, and I got 3 questions, and then 2 questions.
Okay. Cool.
All right, ready?
Yep.
Bottle date codes most likely to contain what info?
Brewed on date. Or freshness date. No.
You're close.
Month, year, date, alcohol percent. I mean, what the code that's stamped on.
The code right there.
Month, year, date, for sure.
Well, yeah, it's usually either the bottled on date, which is the most common, which I think is actually changing to the Best By date.
Yeah.
Being the most common.
And bottled by date is what I meant by brew date.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Bottled on brew date. Okay.
Yeah, and then everyone's got all these different codes based on like the Julian calendar, and it's like, and then this one it just gives me L2034 about 10:34 at night. It was canned, but I don't know what L2034 means without looking up their
Julian date or
Yeah,
how they
that's
do
a
it,
custom
right?
in-house one. You'll never know unless you like.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The 203rd day of the year,
I
the
think
4th month, or the
there has been a big push to go towards just putting Best Buy
date.
dates on them. Like,
Yep.
forget everything else. Just
Keep
put
it
a
simple.
Best Buy date. It is the simplest, easiest for people to understand.
Yeah.
The problem I have with that, it makes it the easiest to understand, but whether that can was stored in room temperature on a shelf
Hey, we're getting to those questions here in a bit, all right?
Well, okay, never mind, I'll shut
That's
up.
on beer storage.
All right. Next question. All right.
What is the best way to prevent prematurely aging beer?
Storage temperature.
That's it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're purchasing and accepting beer, one of the things that you check is to see if it's still cold. And I was trying to find a way of asking that without, just straight up asking that. I came up with this question. I don't think there is a right answer to it. Should you accept a beer that has a Best Buy date of less than a month away? If you're purchasing a beer as a store or retailer.
To me, it would depend on the beer. Like if you got an IPA, a hazy, would I take a chance that I can move that beer in a month? Yes. If I got a Dunkelweizen, could I move that beer in a month? Probably not.
Yeah.
So there is no right answer to it. I would hope that they don't ask that question on the exam because there is no right answer. But I think depending on demographics, like if you are in Wisconsin and they brought you a pallet of New Glarus Spotted Cow, can you move it? Yes.
Yeah.
If you're in Vermont and it's Heady Topper, could you move it? Yes.
Yes.
So I think it's a lot of demographics and what your beer buyers are. Obviously, I'm hoping I'm getting a discount on that pallet. But I don't think there's a right answer on that.
I agree with that. And also, I think the other piece of it, you really start questioning how it was stored if you're getting it with only that much time left. What's happening back at the distribution center? Somebody screwed it up if it's that long coming out of the distribution center. So it really makes you start questioning everything else about what's coming on that truck and looking at things more closely because somebody didn't rotate stuff the way they should have of incoming beer and outgoing beer. And so now you start to question other things about the management there. And so it really, you might accept it because you can move it, potentially. But then you're really starting to question, I'd want a discount. It's probably going to start looking a lot closer every time the shipment comes in for other concerning things that could be out there.
Yep.
Cool.
I completely agree with all of that. So I didn't think there was a right answer, but it all depended on the situation. And it sounds like all three of us are basically on the same page on our answers.
Yeah, good essay question.
Yeah.
Or, short answer.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, on to serving alcohol. What should you do if a beer bottle lip is damaged during opening?
Don't serve it. I don't know where the glass went.
Yeah, I know some people think you can decant it. You can't be 100% accurate. Chalk it up to a loss and move on to another bottle.
Yes, I completely agree, and so does Cicerone.
And and check on what you're using for a bottle opener.
Yeah,
because they had the ones that had the longer. You want a short tooth. The teeth need to be short on the bottle opener, so you're not going to continue doing that.
Speaking of bottle openers, I'm using a new one today. It's
Ooh.
the first time using this.
Using my Beer of the Month club.
Nice. Yeah, it's got a 5/8 wrench on one side. I don't use American wrenches at all, but hey, All right. When serving a bottle-conditioned beer, what steps should you take to ensure presentation? And this is a twofold question. That is, for one glass and or two or more.
Well, the goal is to not rock it back and forth a lot. Pouring one glass, pour it slowly. You're gonna bring it. You got to bring it back up right if you're only doing one. But if you're gonna do multiple glasses, get all your glasses set up, how many ever you need, and pour one. And don't, when you just tip it back enough to stop the flow, move to the next. But really, the goal is to not rock it back and forth to upset the yeast on the bottom. I really like the idea of those baskets that I read about for lambics that hold it, and you just, the whole basket, I thought that was pretty cool. I have to get there aren't that many places serving bottle condition, but like in a commercial setting. But yeah, cool.
If you're getting a 750, you're not, and you got one glass, you're not getting all of that obviously in one glass. So being able to slowly pour, trying to leave that yeast at the bottom. But yeah, 4 glasses, just try to knock it out. But try not to disturb it, though. I actually happen to like the yeast on the bottom of the bottle.
So the real question is you've got it entirely correct on a 750. Now, what if you're pouring a Sierra Nevada Pale for a customer? What do you do?
Well, you could pour it to a point and leave the quarter inch on the bottom and let the customer decide if they want to swirl and pour and take that yeast or not. And then the other thing, if it's in a restaurant, informing the busboys they're not all boys, the person who's going to clear the table that they're coming around and picking stuff up, not to say, oh, hey, there's some beer left, and pour it into the person's glass, being a good, not stealing, not taking your beer away before you're done, but making sure they ask first, because maybe the customer didn't want that yeast in their last of their beer.
Yep, that's pretty much it. It's you ask the customer if they want it, and if they don't, then you leave. Basically, you pour as much as you can without getting to that little bit.
Yeah. And isn't there some, isn't a Hefeweizen expected to swirl and
there's multiple
put it
beers.
in?
There's multiple beers that is expected. Wheat ales actually a lot of times do have suspended yeast. So you would swirl it. Hefties definitely. I mean, you can almost consider them like hazies. They're the OG hazy.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the Hogarten had it on the label to swirl.
Yep.
Swirl and pour.
Yep.
A wheat beer. Yeah. Good one.
All right. Where were we? How do you hold a glass for a draft system pour?
That's one of my questions.
Well, this is on serving alcohol, so that's for serving.
And I got it on the draft, so go ahead.
All right, you hold the glass at a 45-degree angle. Pull on the handle. Do not touch the end of the faucet to the glass. Pour the beer down the side of the glass until you get to a desired level. Bring it up and continue pouring down the center to get the desired level of foam. Turn off the tap prior to the foam going up and over the top of the glass, so you don't waste any beer and cost your company money.
Yep, that's correct.
All
right. 2 more questions for beer storage. Keeping bottled beer in cold storage is most likely to reduce development of what flavors?
Papery, oxidized.
Correct.
And the loss of a hop, the
Yeah.
too hot, would lose hop flavor potentially
Yeah.
over time.
And
We're getting ready to start milling some grains. I'm just gonna mute myself real quick.
okay.
Good, John. Thanks.
What does light interact with to cause light struck beer?
Isoalpha acids from hops.
Correct.
Isomerized.
Isomer.
Isomerized.
Yes, you're right. Thank you. Yep. Isomerized alpha acids. Okay.
Perfect.
Good
Good
one.
job.
All
And
right.
that's all my
And
questions.
that's after the brewing process.
Yes. Yep. Light struck. Okay. Glassware.
But I want
I'm
you
gonna
guys to
start
look at
with the
it.
easy
See how pretty, like.
Nice job. Good colors. I didn't do colors. All right. Here's a threefer. Name a traditional beer glass for a wee heavy, a saison, or a hefeweizen.
A wee heavy would be in a. Oh, what do they call those? They're It's named after a plant. It's a
Prickly plant.
Yeah. No, I can picture it in my head. I actually can picture the glass. It's a Come on, John, you got this. I'm trying to remember.
Is it a tulip?
I
A
mean,
wee heavy.
it's a tulip style glass, but it's actually
Yeah.
not a tulip. It's
Well, either a snifter or thistle.
That's it.
There's
That's
your
what I was
plant,
looking
a
at.
thistle.
Thistle. Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Milk thistle.
A thistle. A saison.
It's got the little bubbles at the bottom and it goes up and then it comes out
Yep.
like it. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
How about a saison?
Is that a stag?
That's Kolsch.
That's Kolsch.
Yep.
I don't remember the saison.
That's one thing that I'm struggling with is all of the glass styles.
There are a lot of them.
So stag is
Tulips.
it's a tulip.
Yep.
Yeah.
The stag, yeah, for the Colts from Cologne, those little straight,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
too small. You have to come around a lot and refill them. All right, and a Hefeweizen. What's a Hefeweizen go in?
Weizen. That's a Weizen glass. What is it called?
They call that one a vase, but you're right.
Vase,
Weizen vase.
Weizen base. Yeah.
The 30 the shape of a woman's body. There we go. We won't go there. All right, here we go. Next. Why do you choose different glass sizes when serving beer?
Mostly for alcohol strength. So the higher the alcohol, the smaller the glass preferred.
Yep. And the other thing that goes along with high alcohol is
Stuff it.
cost.
Cost.
Money.
That makes
So
sense.
to keep it in, like if you poured a 16-ounce, Belgian strong ale or
Yeah.
dark strong ale, that would probably be, a huge amount of money. But if you pour a smaller one, then it's in the range that they're used to paying for a pint, and they hopefully don't kick too much on the cost. All right, good one. All right, which is bigger, an imperial pint or a U.S. pint? Which one holds more volume? Imperial pint. Imperial.
Imperial
Correct.
holds 20.
16 ounces in
Yeah.
23 point something. Yeah.
It's
All
usually
right.
like 22.
Draft systems. You ready, John? Bender, these are your favorite.
One of my questions was for the ideal method for pouring draft. So what are what is the key safety concerns for field growlers?
Field growler?
That-
Filling
Yeah.
a growler?
Are like you fill the growler, you send it off with the customer. What's a key safety concern?
Pressure. pressure buildup in the bottle without a release. If they don't treat it right and it gets too warm, you got active yeast in there, and that pressure buildup, you could have a bottle burst in some cases. So you got to have the right cap that gives some give on pressure for that.
So yes, you got pressure correct, and you got cap correct. There is one other step for a growler to help with that.
I think this depends on the location, and I think you're looking for like a seal on the cap of some kind, like tape or something along those lines, to consider it a closed container.
Correct. Yeah, that's for open container laws, which in the great state of Arizona they don't care about. But the second is leaving a headspace on the growler.
Oh yeah.
So they're pressurized when they get warm. The plastic cap bends and breaks before a metal cap, even though I've never seen a plastic cap on a growler. And then leaving on a growler, there's a 64-ounce level. And if you stop there, that leaves you the 5% headspace for a little bit of expansion before they explode.
I never actually even thought about that, but I mean, it all makes sense.
And yeah, we used to seal all of our growlers with black electrical tape, just if the cops pulled you over. But Arizona doesn't care. There's another brewery here in town that does the heat shrink wraps around the growler caps, and it sucks trying to get those off. But yeah, the last question. In addition to beer, what two things must be included in a cask before it is sealed?
I know this.
Yeah, I do too. Priming sugar and finings. No? I don't know it. Go ahead, Bender.
Priming sugar and yeast.
Exactly correct.
Fresh yeast. Oh, yeah. Got it. All right, there's not enough left.
Yeah.
Not enough
those
left
priming
there.
sugars needs the yeast need to eat the priming sugars to give you the carbonation in the cask. You can obviously add finings, and whether or not you add hops for a dry hop, if you want to add fruit, if you want to add whatever, but you got to have yeast and you got to have fine priming sugars to help give you that natural carbonation.
All right.
Is it about 1.5 volumes on a cask?
Generally, it's around 1.2 to 1.5, if I remember correctly.
Got it. All right. You got more, John? All right. You got yourself muted. There you go.
Let me unmute myself. That's what I did, was 3 questions.
All right. Cool. All right. I got a couple on draft systems to push Bender.
All right.
All right. This one's a
I'll give John a chance to answer before I answer.
What is the main determining factor for pressure of gas on a keg? It's the main factor.
Atmospheric pressure, and then I don't know what the right word is right now, but the PSI that you add plus the atmospheric pressure.
Yep. Okay. So you want the pressure has to be about what volume of CO2 you want the beer to be, what temperature it's going to be at, and then the system resistance. What happens beyond the keg impacts the pressure to put on the keg. Did I get him, Bender? No? All right.
Okay, so the pressure that you put on the keg, we'll say 12 psi. At 38 degrees, 12 psi is 2.5 volumes of CO2. So you need to push the beer with that pressure to your faucet. But beer doesn't want to change, it doesn't want to move. So when it moves, you put in that amount of resistance behind it to maintain the carbonation all the way. So if you're running 12 psi pressure to maintain that carbonation, then you've got 12 pounds of restriction built into the system so that it stays the whole length.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
Make more sense?
All right.
Good question, though.
Okay, what's the conversion factor for static resistance, especially for a change in height? What's that conversion factor?
Are you asking how much resistance you add per foot of height?
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
Okay, it is technically 0.47, but you actually put in just 0.5. Got
it. Perfect. Good job. 1 foot of elevation change, 0.5 pounds static resistance. All right. How much is atmospheric pressure changed by a 2,000 foot change in elevation?
Oh, interesting. 2,000 feet? None? Not much.
1 psi change. So if you're at sea level at 14.7, you go up 2,000 feet, you subtract 1 psi. You go up 4,000 feet minus 2, etc. And if you went down into the ocean below sea level, you'd add a psi of pressure. Okay. All right.
All right. I did not know that. Good call.
That's a good one. All right. You're doing. I moved into cleaning the lines. What's the difference between a static and a dynamic line cleaning? What are the differences? So a pressure pot versus a pump. How are they different? And what do you do differently for those different types of cleaning ways to clean the lines?
John, you want this one?
To be honest, I don't have a lot of experience in this.
Okay.
And I know, I think static, you have to leave in the lines longer than dynamic. But it just seems like there's so many different ways of cleaning lines. I'll leave it to the expert.
Okay. So
that's the main one, is how long you have to leave it in the lines is the main difference. Go ahead, Bender.
With a static pot, you fill it with your caustic, 80 plus degree water, your caustic, you run it through the line and you let it sit for a minimum of 20 minutes. And then you flush it out. With a dynamic, which is a pump, you're recirculating through with, again, your minimum 80 degree water with your caustic or other chemical, and it's a minimum of 15 minutes.
Yep. Those are the two differences. All right, I got a troubleshooting question. All the beers in a long draw system, all the beers are foaming at the faucet when you come in and get started. Everything's foaming. What are the troubleshooting steps for all the beers that are foaming at the faucet? All the tap lines, everything's foaming. What are you looking for?
My first look is checking temperatures. Did that cooler door get left open overnight? So if your temperature is roughly around 38 degrees, then you know it's not temperature. I'm looking at did they adjust the CO2 coming into all the lines over the night? Sometimes bartenders think they know better than us and come in and start adjusting because they don't feel like it pours right.
That would actually be the third thing I checked. You got the first thing correct, and you got the third thing. There's actually a second.
I would look at the chiller, like if you got a glycol chiller going. You got the cooler, but if you got a glycol chiller or some other, in the lines, or are the lines damaged?
I count temperature for temperature. If it's temperature related, check the cooler, check the glycol. Second one would be the first thing that I would check. Second would be to make sure that the bulk CO2 tank or the cylinder actually had CO2 in it.
Yes.
And then I would check all of the secondary, the primary regulator and the secondary regulator.
Yeah, my last brewery, to get in, I had to walk past the bulk CO2. And it's like, lift the lid. Okay, great, we're good. Lift the lid, great, we're good. Because, oh man, you never ever want to call for an emergency CO2 fill.
All right, so we have run out of CO2 multiple times. Now, mind you, we have a bulk liquid tank, big one.
Yeah.
6 tons of liquid CO2.
Yeah, we did the new CO2 bottles, the 6-foot stainless steel bottles. But yeah, when you called to have an emergency fill on that, because it did happen a couple times, and you get good to check. Used to walking by and just looking. Oh, you go down to a quarter tank, call and get another refill.
Order.
So
hey, what are you guys seeing it? Where there was something in the news around issues for craft brewers with availability of CO2 right now. Are you guys hearing anything about that?
We haven't had any issues with it yet. But we get bulk deliveries from some pretty big companies, so we haven't had an issue with it yet. But I know of other places that are having issues, so I think it might be more of an issue in the future.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I think the larger guys are always going to be good. It's the small 3 to 5 barrel nano system that is. SOL.
The big
that's going to be hard.
The big guys, they produce all of the CO2 they need, and they reclaim it and scrub it and just reuse it. And actually, the number one producer of CO2 in the world, I mean, we're using their CO2 is Anheuser-Busch. So most of the CO2 that
one of our small locals put in a reclaimer to do that. The Alchemist did for the Heady Topper. They put in a reclaimer, so now they reclaim all theirs. I know. You're selling a lot of Heady Topper.
Small local?
Well, Alchemist is growing a little bit.
Yeah, just a scotch.
I so want one, but they're so bloody expensive.
Well, they probably I think they got some carbon, they're doing some of this carbon market stuff too. They're reaching out into that. Well, all right. Got to be 9:00. John has got people coming to brew beer. Next time we talked about doing the Hogarden American wheat and a Hefeweizen for our 3 beers to taste.
Sure.
If we were moving down through the syllabus, the next thing is beer styles. But that's a lot. I think we keep picking off a few cards, and going through the flashcards, because I think that one's deep.
To the next subject after beer styles and come back to that later.
Yeah, beer flavor and evaluation. There's A, B, C, D. That one.
Sure.
Okay. So being 4 of them and 3 of us, I'm glad to do 2 of them. So let's go backwards, John. On the syllabus, you do A and B. I'll put this online tomorrow.
Please, thank you, because I need a reminder.
Yep, not a problem. All right, John, you're doing. We'll give you A and B. Bender, you do C, and I'll do D. And then next time we'll switch it up, and somebody else will take 2 when it's a short one. All right, beer flavor and evaluation and tasting. Hogarten wheat. American wheat and a Hefeweizen.
All right. Have a good week, everyone. Perfect. It's always good seeing you.
Enjoy, John. Good luck brewing. Good night.
Bye.
Bye now.